the one presence, the one power, the good, God, the divine, the presence in my breath, in the beating of my heart, in the movement of life throughout my being. In the love that holds and infills and blesses me. In the light that guides me. In the divine harmonious rhythm that is present in every step I take, every tiniest experience and particle of life. I look and I say, there's God. Oh, look, there's God, the good, ever present within and without and all around. There's the presence at work in the seen and in the unseen and in the known and in the unknown. There is the presence, the one. It's a prayer, it's a knowing that when I say within and all around, I remember that I can never be lost or alone. That no matter the chaotic circumstance, in the center is the promise and the possibility of good. And so I affirm that the one presence is moving in and through us now as a healing, harmonizing power. It knows the way, it knows the rhythm, it knows its own wisdom, and it moves in us to harmonize, to heal, to mend, a light shines. A light shines within us. A light by any color you would choose shines in the midst of us, pouring through us. As we allow ourselves to be aware, we open the way for the body to feel a resurgence of life. As we open the way consciously, the heart begins to pulsate with that rhythm of life, life, limitless, pure and perfect life. All the tiniest cells and atoms and molecules of our being light up with the power of the presence of the One. And I consciously acknowledge that truly every aspect of my being is filled with this wondrous presence. I am known, I am safe, I am loved. I say to those around me, you are known, you are safe, you are loved. I say to the world around me, you are known and safe and loved. I say to all forms of life, you are known and loved and safe. For the power that has created you is living in and through you. Blessing, uplifting, transforming. When I acknowledge the presence is within and all around, and here and there, I remember that all and everyone and everything is blessed. In that stream of awareness, I give thanks. Blessings flow and abound. And so it is. Amen.
I hear a call, will I answer? Forsake my all to serve another. Though darkness falls, stay a believer. I hear a call, will I answer? I see a light, will I follow? Fill up this life that grows more hollow. Make joy reside where there lives sorrow. I see a light, now will I follow? I hear a call from out of nowhere, and from anywhere I go, I see a light, will I follow? I feel a touch, will I hold on? there with love for those with no one, with a kindness such it lives though I'm gone. I feel a touch, will I hold on? I hear a call from out of nowhere, and from everywhere I go, I see a light. Will I follow? I feel a touch. Will I hold on? I hear a call. Will I answer?
It's my fault you sing that song.
Make your pride shirt.
I take full responsibility.
Yeah, it's your fault I learned that.
I know.
No, I'm happy you
My favorite. Thank you, sir. So I found a book, which I frequently do, as you know, called Zen at the End of Religion. Zen at the End of Religion. And I've been playing with it a little bit, and what it brought me to is this outside the box thinking, because asked to define yourself as a spiritual being, most frequently what we know to say is, I'm spiritual but not religious, or that unity is spiritual but not religious. And what does that mean would be the question. And the author of the book is looking at religion as it seems to be winding down, religion as we've known it, infrastructures, institutions. As I was looking at the change in the churches I see or read or explore what they're up to, I haven't seen the word Presbyterian for years. Anybody? Do we have a Presbyterian church here? There's one in Anacortes? Yeah. But the little Methodist church on the hill in La Conner is always there as a little white beacon on the hill, which we all love to look at. It's part of our community. Their attendance is very small. The Catholic Church on the hill in La Conner, very small. They don't have an ongoing priest, but they're very busy the Sundays of the month that the priest comes, the visiting or the what we would once have called the itinerant priest comes. But the community still holds. It still holds, but it doesn't hold in the way it once did. It's not part of the woven fabric of our time. And asked through polls or inquiry, whatever, what the percentage of people who are involved in religion per se, as it's been known, the greatest number of people mark none. None. What is your tradition? Mark none. Now, if you're in a culture or a country that is built around a particular spiritual perspective, whether it be Buddhist or Hindu or whatever, I think we would also see that among younger people, the aspiration toward an actual defined religious life has transformed significantly. Spiritual life, a different thing. A defined spiritual life being different than the structure of historical tradition. And traditionalism, in many ways, is no longer the path for many people. There's a hunger for something else. Years ago, Unity said, will be the next great world's religion. Well, it's not true. But the spiritual ideas that Unity teaches, among other faith communities that are teaching those things, has become a part of the wovenness of spirituality into daily life. The books, the literature, the ideas have become woven into a way of living more than a pursuit of a tradition or a church community or a temple or whatever the case may be. There's been this shift, except in the area of fundamentalism. And we see that little churches that used to just be, whoever, the Nazarenes, the whatever the names of all of the fundamentalist traditions have been, that those have fallen away. But the idea of some spiritual need among people met through fundamentalism has been very seductive, very seductive. And if you drive down the street and you stopped and you said to somebody, which church do you go to in your community, there's a strong belief that there's only one. It doesn't matter which church, you just go because that's what you do. It doesn't matter whether it's this fundamental church or that one. It's just, there's not a thought beyond, I could see differently, or there could be another way to explore spirituality. So people give up on the idea that there's something more than just the religious ideologies that we've been taught and lived in for all these years. I've told you too many times that as a child, I was a kid who went to church. I followed people to church. I followed their families to church. My family had no interest in religion or spirituality. It was a long time ago, but I was a kid who saw something that I couldn't define but wanted, and so I went to church with all these people, Church of Christ, the Baptist Church. Which Baptist church? I don't know. I went to the Catholic Church with people. I liked it. I wanted to be a nun. I liked the ritual. I liked the smell of it. I liked the feeling of it. I became part of more fundamentalist teachings, not because I necessarily comprehended them or incorporated them, but because they were part of what felt right to me about just about life. There was something there that was important, and then in the midst of major chaotic time in marriage, I ended up in a religious science church at the guidance of someone that I met. And from the first moment that I heard the ideas, I thought, this is a place for me. This is a place for me. And stepped out of the box of my history into the exploration of spirituality, and my family was horrified. They thought I'd been taken captive by, by, yeah, by, by something that they knew nothing about and didn't want to know about, and didn't want me to know about either. But we look at the evolution of our own journeys, and look at where we are now, and look at what matters, and we're I'm not going to say we're on the cutting edge. We're not. We're in the flow of this truth, this constant wave of evolution that's at the heart of our spiritual lives. We're not unique. Somebody's reading a book this morning somewhere, and they're waking up to an idea they've never seen before or never heard, wasn't part of their community, wasn't part of their history. They didn't know. We had the grace or the blessing of being exposed to something at some point in time that made sense to us in a way that perhaps the old traditional way did not. The next few weeks, I want to look at this outside the box idea of spirituality, and I want to look back at the concepts in spiral dynamics. Spiral dynamics, if you've never studied spiral dynamics, it looks like your shirt. It looks like that. Exactly. You don't have any beige on your shirt, but we could make up a beige meme there. Spiral dynamics are the way of understanding cultural, spiritual tradition, and the ways in which societies emerge through various times and evolve into different ways of being. But one of the significant implications of spiral dynamics has to do with religion, spirituality, tradition, and the ways we are born into these various states of consciousness. Not just a tradition, but the journey itself. So looking from a spiral dynamics perspective, it begins with tribalism, the whole concept of tribalism. What kind of tribalism? Well, the kind of raw tribalism that was part of our human development process out of antiquity. This is the earliest of times, when for survival there had to be a joining that was defined by certain ideas, certain what do I want to say? As important as survival was, there was the comprehension that for survival to take place, there had to be this tribal belief structure. And we had to align with it. And if we wouldn't align to that tribal belief structure, we would be outcast, we would be shunned, we would be left behind, because the importance was the solidarity of the obedience to the tribal power core, which had within it rules and ideas and obedience and all the things that we've come to see are an influence in traditional religion and ideology down through time. So in the spiral dynamics world, every aspect of it is woven into the next aspect of it. So as you move up the spiral, every preceding aspect is also present in the new wave as it emerges and grows and compensates for what was and was not the new order of things. And if I'm not careful, I'm going to talk myself into a box. No, it's such an exciting understanding. So at the level of what they call a meme, which is a whole, the collective understanding of a time and an emerging time, a point in evolution. The beige meme, beige, which is not in your shirt. The beige meme is about raw tribalism, primitive tribalism. Well, we can see that emerging in today's time, but we look at it and we say, how did that influence how I've come to be? We can't leave that out of the picture. The next meme is purple. And purple is a more, that's so good. Purple is a more defined sense of how to govern, how to, this is magic, ritual, this is the history of tribalism as it moves into being fear-based and power-driven, not just for survival, but in order to shape culture, in order to make something of it. A felt sense that we have a story, we've come from somewhere, how do we bring it to life? What makes sense of it at that level of the mind? Then we move into the blue. The next level is, well, actually the next level is red. And the red rebels from all of that tribal history, all of that ritual history. The red has within it this root of turning things upside down and tearing them apart and making them into something radical and impulsive. And then it's blue, and now in blue we're controlling that impulsiveness. We have theology, we have music, we have all these things that define our tribalism in a more moderated way. So now it's more judicial, there's a lot of judgment, there's a lot of fear in it, but it's formalized. It's very formalized. It's when you begin to see religion take form instead of just be reactionary or out of control. All of a sudden now, we're moving into the next meme, and it's not green or yellow. You're moving into another level of understanding. In the individual, these levels of evolution show up in our own spiritual journeys. In our own spiritual journeys, as we look at what defines our spirituality, not our religion, our spirituality, we begin to see how our own evolution, how our own consciousness has shown up in the midst of these unfolding waves of our time, our own self-definition, the way we see things, our perceptions, what matters to us, what we value, what we've discarded, what we've taken on. And we can see the influence isn't just individual, it's collective. And that religion or spirituality as we understand it has always been trying to define something that cannot be defined. which is what? The spiritual journey. Religion has tried to define, to create packages that will serve a particular purpose in a particular time. And right now, fundamentalism is taking control. Do you see that? If you look back, where was fundamentalism in the emergence, if you will, of our consciousness that has given it rise once again out of a belief that it will create something in a time that defines and controls and suppresses what we've come to. Spiritual life is defined as freely exploring deeper meaning within you. Spiritual life is the exploration of deeper meaning within you. Spiritual life is the freedom to choose, is the freedom to explore, the freedom to expand, the freedom to incorporate your limitless nature. Spirituality says, I'm outside the box, I can think for myself. I don't choose that old way of being controlled, being manipulated, being managed, being boxed in, being an automaton in a field of thinking that doesn't fit me. Spirituality says, although I can explore the old, it doesn't define the way I see and feel myself as a spiritual being. And that's why we can go in any church, listen to a message, interpret it in accord with our own understanding, not choose it, not necessarily want it, but be informed by our own comprehension, understanding, evolutionary perspective about how to be with that which I would not choose. Here's the problem with fundamentalism. It harkens back to tribalism. It takes us all the way back, if we follow the order of it, to tribalism. So in spiral dynamics, we would see that it takes us back to the very ideas that we have grown out of and from and no longer choose to be identified by. If you love Jesus, great, you love Jesus. If you love the ideas that are biblical, great, you love the ideas that are biblical. If you join a community at this point in time, and it is bound by the rules of fundamentalism, and it shows up in every tradition, you have a whole different issue before you. If you're going to join a community, if you're going to honor your own spiritual development at this point in your life, and you're going to choose community for that, the opportunity to be with others, what are you choosing? What are you looking for? What do you need? What do you want? Tribalism means you shut down your own sense of how things are, and you become an adaptive being, obedient to the rules, obedient to the beliefs, and obedient to the structure, or, if you will, the institution itself. Here's the dogma, here's the doctrine, here are the practices, here are the ways in which you define yourself in this community, and to step outside that is what? Yeah. It's painful. To leave, it's painful. It's incredibly painful because there's much about it that is praise. It's praise in so many ways. But when it comes to the definition of your own being, it smacks of something we've come from, but really are not moving toward. It's not to say it's not worthy or that it's not right or that it's not what is present and making a difference in people's lives. But you're out of the box. You stepped out of the box to step back in. And I've known people who step back in. I've known people who come and experience a little taste of metaphysics or unity, and it's not their way. They step back. But it's not backward. It's into a system defined by ways of being that spiritually define who you may or may not be. Tribalism. There's a whole lot of tribalism going on. Unity has to be really careful not to become tribal, not to become fundamental or rule-bound in its own definition. That's part of what we bring into the world. I know unity fundamentalists who make me crazy. They may not carry the Bible, but boy, if you get in the field of whatever they think is true for them and everyone else, it can be offensive. It's like, somebody give me a little space to breathe here. How much positive thinking can you take when you're in pain? How much woo-woo can you hold when you're trying to keep your feet on the ground and figure out how to work with principle in a time when everything is in chaos? As we look over the next few weeks, and I need to get you out of the box and out of my box and continue this next week, but the reason this lesson is so important to me, or this series, is because it's so easy for me to I don't know if it's easy for me. I have to reflect on how to rely maybe too often on the principles themselves and not do my work in continuing the evolution of my awareness in the principles. So on your bulletin this morning, inside the cover, you've got the 5 principles that unity teaches. This is as close to a doctrine as you will ever get from unity. If you want an explanation of it that's like everybody else's explanation, you won't get that, because everybody speaks of these things a little differently. Charles Fillmore, when unity came into being, said we don't need another religion. He was very clear, we don't need another religion, we have plenty. People need to discover the power within them and then take that into the world where they live and enrich their own tradition. The Dalai Lama says, don't take what I say or my tradition. You don't need to be a Tibetan Buddhist, he said. If the teaching has meaning for you, take it to your own church. Take it into your own life. Put it to work in your own reality. He said, more Tibetan Buddhists aren't the answer. How we are in the world is the answer. What we bring to the world is the answer. Unity teachers write books. We take books from other people. We study all different kinds of traditions. It's part of the evolution of unity that Charles Fillmore was afraid wasn't going to happen, although he was very fundamentalist in his own teachings. And we have splits now in unity, of very traditional unity ministers and churches and traditions, and people like me who are just wild and crazy. Can't put me in the box. You just can't put me in a box. I've been, yeah, thanks. Yeah. I have been, I just want to use the words here for a minute. I wrote them down, but I can't find them in my notes right now. Oh, here we go. Heretic, these are the words I get. Not recently and not here, thank you God. But I could if I hung out a little more in interfaith community, probably. Heretic, non-Christian, the work of the devil, I was doing the work of the devil. I'm evil, I'm sinful, I'm going to hell, I'm a heathen, I'm crazy, I'm off the rails, I'm bound by a cult, I'm sick, I'm condemned, I'm a number of other things in addition to that. That's what it meant to lead a unity church when I came into the ministry in 1978 in Illinois, Midwest. I got pamphlets, I got phone calls, but it has continued down through the years where definition, tribalism, in, out, part of the culture, outside the culture, safe, not safe, all of those concepts lived not just out there in the world, but these weren't just words used for a unity minister. They were words that were used for anybody who was outside the box, anybody in a tradition, anybody who suddenly challenged the doctrines of their own traditions were outcasts. Priests were put out to pasture. Ministers, anybody who took a stand about mysticism as it was emerging in minds and hearts of people, the broader, more expansive spiritual journey. Priests and teachers and ministers and unity ministers and anybody who dared to step forward and tell truth from the way they understood it, challenged the tribal norm. And what tribe does is always cast out that which is not in agreement. Why? Because it threatens control. So tribalism as a part of spiritual development is really a powerful exploration. And we discover that traditions and ways in which spiritual life has been perceived has a lot of tribal boxes. And people are trying to continue those. Do you remember when our beautiful president, Jimmy, took on the Southern Baptist Convention about the stand against LGBTQ? Anybody? He was outcast from his own tradition. He was the president of the United States. There was no space for him in his tradition. He wasn't allowed to be the powerful, incredible leader, and he left. He left. He stepped out of the box, and he left the tradition. In courage and in grace. not in condemnation, but in non-agreement. Whether it's Buddhism, whether it's Hinduism, whether it's what breed of spiritual reality, what breed, it seems to have endemic in it this tribal mentality from the earliest primal days of understanding what it meant to be part of whatever we called religion at that point in time. It lives on. It lives on. And we have to be careful not to let it live on in us. And that's what I'm going to talk about over the next few weeks. And that might have been random and crazy, what I just did with that, because I've got hours of this is like a workshop retreat, day-long, week-long, month-long study that I tried to do in these moments we share. I'll come back to it because it's very important. We are in a time of tribalism. We are in a regression to the red, to tribalism, to you're in or you're out. And it's very important for us not to become seduced by ways of seeing and thinking that perpetuate what is no longer true for us. All right, that's enough of me. Enough. All right, hard to stop. Thank you very much. That's true. Our offering on Sunday mornings, our offering goes directly to providers. Our offering goes to people who provide the service for us in the ministry, the individuals who provide service for you, and it goes to organizations in the community who do good things for others. Our tithes go out to be a blessing in the community. So when you tithe or when you give, your blessing goes on and on to be a blessing for others. So thank you for all that you give, for your generous hearts. I give joyfully and easily, for God is my source, and abundance is my nature. And so it is.
Thank you for your love and more, gifts untold, shelter from the cold. When I'm feeling sad or lonely, you let me know I'm not the only one who's ever been here. Thank you for your gifts and more. That's what I thank you for. Thank you for. Thank you for. Thank you for your gifts and more. That's what I thank you for.
Thank you. Our prayer for protection. The light of God surrounds us. The love of God enfolds us. The power of God protects us. The presence of God watches over us. Wherever we are, God is, and all is well. Let's stand and sing our peace song.